And that's my talk. Meet the new truth, same as the old truth. Chris and I trade little 60s rock and roll. The who? Who? Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Meet the new truth, same as the old truth. Hi, how are you today? Me too. I'm going to start off with a story. Some of you may be familiar with the story, but it's always good to kind of be reminded of it once in a while. There's this mother hen in a hen yard, chicken yard, and she's sitting on her nest incubating her eggs. And she notices one time after she comes back from grabbing some food that one of the eggs looks a little bit different than the others, but she says, well, they're all my eggs, they're my nest, they must be mine. So she continues to incubate the eggs, and when the time comes, the eggs all hatch, and out come all the little chicks. And she notices that this one egg has produced a chick that looks a little different than the others, but she's open to diversity, and so she loves them all, completely equally, and admires them. And as they grow, she notices this one kind of is a little bit larger and a little bit more ungainly than her other chicks. And the other chicks learn how to peck and how to search for food and run around the barnyard and cluck and all like that. And the bigger one also does that. And I know I was talking at the first service, James Massengale and Cynthia and I were at the teen camp a couple weeks ago. And one of the things that the teens have said is they sometimes feel like they don't fit into where their environment is. And they sometimes feel out of place and maybe a little larger or a little ungainly or whatever. And that they love teen camp because it's a place that they can kind of fit in with the misfits. And have you ever felt like a misfit in society? Yeah, kind of. I think this church is oftentimes the church of the misfits. I certainly qualify. So that's this chick was a misfit. But they ran around and continued to grow, and it continued to get bigger and continued to kind of be larger than the other chicks, and Mom still loved it. And one day there was this shadow that came over the barnyard, circling the barnyard. And they suddenly looked up in the sky and said, oh my God, it's a bird of prey, run to safety. And so they're all running to safety, and this bird of prey swoops down, grabs the big chick by the neck and pulls it aside, drops it on the ground, and says to it, what the heck are you doing? You're an eagle like me. Why are you hanging around with these chickens? And the little baby eagle says, no, you don't understand. I was born a chicken. I've been raised a chicken. I am a chicken. Okay? And the eagle who's noticed the difference says, look at your coloring. Look at my coloring. Look at how you're different from those. You're an eagle. That is your nature. That is who you truly are. And eventually he got the baby to see, or the young eagle to see, that yes, he really was an eagle, and they took off. You and I are eagles. Sometimes we feel like they're in the hen yard with the little chickens of our small thinking. I'm not going to blame anybody out there, but just our own conditioned little, chip thinking. Maybe one or two of you have noticed that we have that, right? Yep. But we're eagles. When Jesus kind of whacked people up alongside the head, which he did often if you really understand the Gospels, one of the things he said to them is, remember your scripture? It tells you that you're gods. Know you not that you are gods? And that was a reminder of something that was said back in Psalms. He was always kind of reminding them of what had already been taught. Because they, like we, forget. We forget sometimes. And so we need to be reminded, we love to be reminded. You and I are gods. We are individualized expressions of an infinite presence. Breathe that in. We are eagles. And if you're like me, sometimes we forget that. And so we come together here today to remind ourselves of that, to remember that truth. We are eagles. Today is the fourth of the 4 Sundays that we're taking a look at the basics of science of mind. And we've looked at the thing itself, what it is. We've looked at how it works. We've looked at what it does. And today we look at how do we use it. We finally get around to that. See, if you're going to work with something powerful, like let's say electricity, it's good to know how electricity works, right? Before you start playing around with it, it's good to know what it is, how it works, and what it does before I start to try and connect things together, because if I don't, the results can be a little awkward sometimes. Yeah, it can get lit up in a different way than you want to get lit up. Ernest Holmes says that as we learn and practice our philosophy, the science of mind, we live principle-centered, spirit-led lives and turn to our principles for guidance in all moments and all areas of our lives. All moments and all areas of our lives. These are the values by which we live. These are the values by which we live. We don't believe in living as victims. We don't believe that life out there just happens to me and I got to put up with it. I call it oyster consciousness. The oyster kind of lays at the bottom of the water and just takes whatever comes with it. No, we're eagles. We go out and hunt for our food. We go out and create what we want. So we know that we co-create with an infinite presence. You and I co-create with an infinite power and an infinite presence. That's our joy, that's our privilege, that's our honor, and that's our responsibility. And that presence is for us. It's in our favor because it's the only thing that there is, and it can't be against itself because it would self-destruct. And since you and I are one of that infinite presence, one of that one life, it has to be in support of our highest and greatest good because it's in support of its own highest and greatest good. Isn't that great? Yep. Breathe that in. Ernest says one of the great difficulties is that we are likely to indulge in too much theory and too little practice. We only know as much as we can prove by demonstration. He hammers that, by the way, throughout the whole teaching. From this book to the Sermon by the Sea, which was his last talk, he hammers on this idea that we need to apply it. It's not just enough to know it. We need to apply it. We need to do it. It is easy enough to rush about shouting that there are no sick people, but this will never heal those who appear to be sick. It is easy to proclaim that there are no needy. Anyone can say this. But if we are to prove such statements to be facts, we shall be compelled to do more than just announce a principle, no matter how true it may be. See, to know it is not the same as to practice it. To know it is not the same as to apply it. I can know that light switch will turn on the lights in this room, but until I actually apply my finger to the light switch and move it, I'm not going to get any light. Do we use these principles? And that's the invitation. The infinite must flow through us in order to manifest for us. And by conscious thinking, we give it a direction, we give it a description, we give it a form in which to show up. So what I focus on is what shows up in my life. I love Emmett Fox, who said that if you're having a problem, think about God instead. Whatever your problem is, think about God instead, because God is the life, the love, the light, the beauty, the peace, the power, and the joy of life. And isn't that what we all want to experience more of? And so if what I put my attention on is what increases in my life, then that's what I want to put my attention on. Because what I put my attention on increases. If I put my attention on unhappiness and unlove and all that stuff, that's what increases. I get more of it. It's really simple. Ernest Holmes has said this is a really simple philosophy. Really simple. And then how I emotionalize my thoughts adds the creative energy. I was listening to a film director one time talk about that he can take a scene of a couple walking through a beautiful nature scene, okay? And he can play beautiful music behind them and we just have this romantic feeling, we know it's wonderful, or he can play this sinister dun, 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 music behind them and we start looking for where's the villain, what's going to happen, where's the thundercloud going to come from or whatever. Because of the music behind the scene. It's the same scene, but what we put behind it. So what we put behind it in our lives is the meaning we establish and the emotions we give to something that happens. It just happens. What do I say that it means? And what is the emotion that I apply to it? So I can apply love or I can apply fear. Love is the nature of the universe. Fear is the forgetting of the nature of the universe. Which one do I want to play with? Which one do I want to apply? Both add the power to manifest. Ernest says that when we are dealing with real life, with thoughts, impulses, emotions, etc., we are dealing with causation, with original cause. And we should be most careful how we deal with such thoughts and such forces. being careful. See, if I'm dealing with electricity, particularly if it's a lot of electricity, I want to be careful, right? I want to pay attention. There's a Zen story that talks about a student walking with his master, and the student says, what's the key to enlightenment? And the master says, attention. And the student says, well, yes, I know that the first step is attention, but what's beyond that? Give me the juice, give me the good stuff. And the master says, the first step is attention. The second step is attention. The 100th step is attention. Am I paying attention to my thought? Am I paying attention to how I am using this beautiful, powerful, creative force? Am I paying attention? And so that's our work. That's our work, is to pay attention and then direct it where we want it to be. Spirit takes on and releases form. It takes on form as we call it in, or it's called into form, and it releases form. Nothing is permanent. No form is permanent. This chair that you're sitting in, it's not permanent. Hopefully it's going to last through the service. I think it will. It's lasted through hundreds of services before, but it's not permanent. Someday it will be gone. Okay? So form comes and goes. No form is permanent. Spirit, the nature of spirit, what it is, that's permanent. But we get to create the forms. And the reason that's important to know is to understand that whatever looks like a form that we don't want, that seems so real, it's not permanent, because no form is permanent. We get to shift it. Any form which is not part of the original harmony and nature of spirit must change, must dissolve, because it's not real, because it's not in alignment with spirit. And so spirit is nature. Spirit's nature is to continuously seek to express, and I think of it as like the flower that pushes its way through the sidewalk, or the root that pushes its way through the sidewalk. No matter how much we concrete over something, it pushes its way through. We have some, if you do follow Cherie's advice and walk all the way to the back fence, you'll see some beautiful bamboo plants back there. And then you'll see them moving forward, and part of the landscape crew's constant process is chopping out the new shoots from the bamboo. And that's the nature of nature. That's the nature of life, is it will constantly come through no matter what. It will constantly come through. All we need to do is create an opening for what the nature of spirit is that we want to let open up in our lives. So our thought directs and applies the law, and we use it for a definite purpose. We get clear on what is it that I want to manifest? What is it that I'm choosing? Rather than just haphazardly accepting whatever's blowing in the wind, right? So we get clear with it. This is what I want to experience. This is what I want to experience. And sometimes in a challenging situation where it looks like this is what's coming my way, I have to stand and say, no, that is not what I want to experience. I choose, no matter how hopeless it looks, no matter how impossible it looks, I choose to experience this instead. And I put my attention on that, and I stand in that. I stand on that rock. We apply definiteness of purpose. Ernest says that a false fact is neither person, place, nor thing. While it is true that wrong conditions exist, they could not remain unless there were someone to experience them. Consequently, the experience must be in consciousness, and conditions are not entities, we are entities. The experience is just something we're experiencing in consciousness. Something is happening, and I'm adding my own thought and feeling. This is good, this is bad. This makes me happy, this makes me sad. But I am the entity, and I get to choose in consciousness. The experience changes and dissolves as I choose differently. So if I'm experiencing what I don't want, I stand in one of the processes we talk about in religious science is the use of what are known as denials. And denials, this is not the psychological denial. Oh no, that's, I'm not really doing that, as I've got my hand in the cookie jar. No, I'm not. My little sister was famous for that. We both have our hands in the cookie jar. We both have cookie crumbs around our mouth. My mom would say, "Were you in the cookies?" And I learned very quickly to say, "Yes, I was in the cookies." And she kept saying, "No, I wasn't in the cookies." And she'd get in trouble. Because not only was her hand in the cookie jar, but she was lying about it. So that's denial. That's psychological denial. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is standing and saying, look, this is not the truth of spirit. No matter how real it looks, this is not the truth of spirit. Spirit is love. Spirit is joy. Spirit is beauty. Spirit is power. Spirit is grace. what is the truth of Spirit, and I choose to manifest that. Am I still on? No, we had problems with this in the first service. So I'm on here. Yeah, but you got to record. We got to record it for the video. Yeah, sorry. This is not the truth. This is not the truth, whatever it is. The truth is, and then I claim what it is that I want. So I say, this is not what I want. This is not the truth of Spirit. This is not the truth of nature. This is the truth of nature. I can be heard no matter what. Even if the battery or the whatever microphone doesn't work, I can still be heard. I can still find that way. Spirit always finds a way. When we align with spiritual nature, we fill ourselves up with good and expectancy. We manifest what we want. Trained thought is more powerful than untrained thought. When we train our thought to say, this is what I'm going to experience and I'm going to choose consciously over and over again, boom, 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 this is what I'm choosing. If I keep my thought trained on that, okay, it is more powerful than just whatever is floating through the air. And so as we learn to control our thoughts, as we learn to bring them in line with the nature of Spirit, we can look discordant facts in the face and say, you don't have any more power over me. Because I am an eagle. I am a spiritual being in human form, and I have the entire power of the universe backing me, behind me, supporting me, in allowing the true nature of Spirit to show up in my life. We have to sometimes take a deep breath in order to remember that truth. I love the song where we wander around all these different paths, and sometimes we just have to come back to God is, I am, and this is the truth. Amen. We forget our true spiritual nature, and stuff that we don't want shows up. And we realize that we can change this simply by practicing it, and we practice it by doing it. Doing it and doing it over and over again until we finally get the confidence that says, you know what, every time I truly change my mind, every time I truly get clear on what it is that I want, that things shift and that shows up. So when we change our consciousness, it immediately starts the law working in the direction we choose. See, truth demonstrates instantaneously because it's already present. All of the love of God is present right here, right now. Whether I'm experiencing it or not, whether I'm letting it in or not, it is present. So I don't have to pull the love of God from somewhere off over there and bring it over to me over here, right? It's already present right here, right now. All the good, all the joy, all the wealth, all the whatever it is that we're claiming for our lives, the health, the wholeness, the life energy is ours right now. 2 weeks ago, I was sitting in the teen camp, had a cold. And I kept sitting there in the teen camp whenever I had a free moment and just simply said, this is not the truth. The truth of God is the health, the wholeness, and the vibrant aliveness present in every single cell of my body. And sure enough, it started to go away, it started to go away, it started to go away. And I kept reminding myself of that truth. It's already present. It only takes as much time as is inherent in the logical and sequential unfolding of that truth. There are times when, especially if we want something that involves somebody else, we don't create in a vacuum, we create with them, and so sometimes they're involved in, are they ready? Am I ready? And when that comes together, we create what it is that we want. But it's already in awareness, it's already in reality, it's already in existence because that is the nature of Spirit. So it takes place first in our mind, and it shows up as we allow our thoughts to fully align with truth. One of my favorite Ernest Holmes quotes is, there is no process of healing, but there is generally a process in healing. There's no process of healing because there's nothing that needs to be healed. One of my other favorite quotes, there's nothing to heal, only truth to be revealed. Okay? And so where it looks like we're out of alignment, we're just experiencing out of alignment, but that's not the truth of Spirit. God isn't sick, right? God isn't broke. God isn't lonely. I might be experiencing that. I might be feeling that, but that's not the truth of the infinite presence. And when I start to remember, wait, that's not the truth of God, and I'm one with God, and I'm going to accept this as my truth, that's where the healing starts. When I let that into my life. So there's no process of healing because there's nothing that needs to be healed, but there oftentimes is a process in healing because I have to get myself into alignment with that truth. I have to get my thoughts, my chickens in a row, flying in the same direction, or better yet, my eagles in a row flying in the same direction, in order to allow that to happen. And so as I do that, it looks like that takes time. And so Ernest says we must meditate and mentally treat daily upon the desired manifestation, until the desired manifestation shows up. We daily pray and meditate on what it is that we want. And what I look at that is, as this is what conditions the soil of our mind. If we're planting seeds, we have to have healthy soil in which the seeds grow. And so we nourish and condition the soil to allow that seed to grow. Because if I'm sitting there going, God's all love, but I believe I'm unlovable, what's going to happen is kind of a distorted little plant, right? And so that love will come up in weird ways. When I get, I am lovable because I'm immersed in God, because I am God in form, and God is completely love, then I allow that to manifest cleanly, clearly, and openly. And so I have to condition the soil of my mind until that is what shows up, until what I choose shows up. I have to be receptive to the new idea. I have to pull out the weeds of what I don't want and add the plant of what I do want. I have to balance the soil, whatever it takes, whatever metaphor you want to use, but I have to do that. And Ernest says we should treat until we get results. We should do this, treatment is this 4 or 5 step prayer process that we use here. And we should do this process until we get the results we want. And all we're doing with this process is we're not praying to something out there, we're praying to our own consciousness to align it with Spirit. We're declaring our own consciousness to be in alignment. If you want to know more about that, we can show up for this afternoon's Quick Start class because we're going to talk about it. So we work with expectancy. We have an expectation that as I do this, this is what's going to happen. Same as when I walk back and flip on the light switch, I have an expectancy of light. Right? Okay? It's that. There's no anxiety. There's no coercion. I don't have to make the electricity flow. I don't have to get in there and force it to flow. And it's not going to flow unless I make it happen. It's just going to do it. I'm just going to let it happen, and it does what it does, right? It's nature to flow, and it's nature, if we have captured correctly, to light up the room, or to warm the room, or to toast my toast, or whatever else, run my car. So as we do our mental work, we leave it to the law to manifest. Ernest says that perfect belief is the beginning and the end of good mental work. As long as I'm in that belief, as long as I know this is the truth, I have done the mental work. I stand in that belief until it shows up. I stand in that belief until it shows up. So our practice this week is to practice that, to play with that, to take this into some area of your life and say, what is the spiritual nature of God, the spiritual truth that I want to have showing up in this area of my life where it may feel like it's not right now, and then to stand in that, to look at what is currently now, which feels out of alignment with Spirit, and say, look, you're not the truth. You're not real. What's real is the infinite presence, the one mind, the one life, the one love. And I'm going to stand in alignment with that. I'm going to contemplate that until that is what shows up in this area. And this is what it looks like. This is how I want it to show up. Not the process, but this is what I want to show up. If I'm looking at my checkbook and I don't like my checkbook, what I want to show up is this. If I'm looking at my health and I don't have a healthy body like I was doing a couple weeks ago, what I want to show up is health in every cell of my body. Okay? So we look at that and manifest that. That's our spiritual practice this week. Want to play with that? Want to play with me with this? Yeah. Cool. I want to close with our final quote from Ernest, and this is right at the end of this book, this chapter. He says, "A new light is coming into the world. We are on the borderland of a new experience." That's exciting, isn't it? We're on the green growing edge, the borderland of a new experience. We're the cutting edge. We're helping to create this. You and me. The veil between spirit and matter is very thin. The invisible passes into visibility through our faith in it. A new science, a new religion, and a new philosophy are rapidly being developed. This is in line with the evolution of the Great Presence, and nothing can hinder its progress. You and I are on a moving sidewalk, on a moving path, and we're just letting it carry us forward because we have said yes to the highest and best of Spirit and the highest and best of ourselves. He goes on to say, true thought deals directly with first cause, and this science is the study of first cause, spirit, or truth, that invisible essence, that ultimate stuff and intelligence from which everything comes. It is the power back of creation. It is the thing itself. And that is what you and I are playing with constantly and more consciously. I love you for doing that. I love the process of this being so. Let's move into prayer. There is only that life, that one life, that infinite presence, that life, that love, that light, that peace, that power, that beauty, and that joy. There is only that. That is the reality of the world. That is all that there is, no matter what. Whether we remember it or forget it, that is the truth. And the next truth is that because it is all that there is, that each and every one of us, all of us, are one of that. Whether we know it or not, whether we remember it or not, we are one of it. One of that life, one of that light, one of that love, one of that peace, that power, that beauty, and that joy. We are. Our very existence, our very nature is that right here and right now. And so I speak my word and declare that that is what is manifesting ever more fully in each of our lives because we're saying yes to that nature. We're choosing that nature consciously. We're choosing to be places where heaven is manifest as earth, where the true nature of spirit is showing up ever more fully in human form. We are the place that moves the invisible ideas into visible form through our consciousness, through our thoughts, through our actions, through our beingness. And so we take that seriously, and we take that playfully, and we create joyfully in our lives the good that is truly the good that wants to manifest through us. We say yes, and the universe says yes right back. And so in gratitude for each of us and our yes, in gratitude for the process, for this dance of the universe in which we are so fortunate to be dancing and becoming ever more aware of, I am ever so grateful. For all the good that is manifesting, I am ever so grateful. And so I release this process with certainty, knowing that it shows up in each of our lives, that as we tap into this law and use it consciously, it automatically shows up in form, expression, and experience for each of us. So it does. So we are. And so it is.